To save the girl I loved most, I chose to betray her, right when she loved me the most. Everyone called me a heartless jerk, but I felt nothing. I abandoned her and became a drug trial subject. 3 years later, my time as a test subject finally ended. The first thing I did wasn't ask for her forgiveness. Instead, I went straight to a funeral service center. Because of 3 years of drug trials, my organs had failed badly. I had only 1 month left to live. I didn't want her to spend her whole life drowning in guilt once she learned my betrayal had been staged on purpose. So I decided to take this secret and leave her forever. Mr. Gu, the funeral package you booked comes to $86,000 total. I looked down at the bank card in my hand and murmured, I only have $50,000. I never imagined that even choosing how I wanted to die would become a luxury I couldn't afford. I held out the bank card. I only have $50,000 right now. Can I pay the rest in a few days? As long as it settled within a month. Earning $36,000 in 1 month wouldn't be easy. But there was one way I could try. I showed up outside the Kim family's biggest jewelry gala. Since I had no invitation, security stopped me at the door. I waited outside for a full 3 hours. Finally, the guests began leaving. Vivian Bai walked out gracefully on Nathan Song's arm. Nathan, Ms. Bai really couldn't be better to you. She bid on an $80 million mansion without even blinking. Of course, Vivian says you only get married once, so everything has to be the best for me. It's her promise that we'll never divorce. Just then I called out, Vivian Bai. Vivian turned at the sound of my voice. The instant she saw me, a flood of emotions crossed her eyes, settling finally into bone-deep hatred. I walked up to her, slid a shell bracelet off my wrist and said, Vivian, I want to trade you this bracelet for $36,000. You made it yourself back when we first fell in love, out of shells you picked up at the beach. You told me I could trade it for the most precious thing in the world. Vivian snatched the bracelet from my hand. Her eyes looked like they wanted to devour me. Ethan Gu, she snapped. 3 years, and you come find me just to ask for money? I lowered my eyes, avoiding hers. If it's not possible, forget it. I didn't really expect much anyway. I just wanted to see her one more time before I died to memorize her face. I reached out to take the bracelet back, but Vivian threw it straight to the ground. That's the jerk who once abandoned Ms. Bai, back when she was still building her company. She had sudden heart failure and needed a transplant to survive. The moment he found out, he abandoned her and left the country. He must be eating himself up with regret by now. And now he shows up again, shameless as ever. If I were Ms. Bai, I'd make sure he suffered for it. What they said was true, but no one knew the truth hiding beneath it. Back then, Vivian's heart was failing and she urgently needed a transplant. After exhausting every effort, I finally found a matching heart. The donor was a man in a vegetative state. His father was an obsessive drug researcher, and the only condition for donating his son's heart was that I volunteer as the test subject for his new experimental drug. I knew Vivian would never agree to let me become a test subject, so I arranged for someone to help me stage a fake betrayal. 3 years as a test subject left my body ravaged by the drugs. With multiple organ failure, the doctor said I wouldn't live past a month. Vivian pressed down harder with her foot. The pain made my whole arm tremble. I looked up at her, a faint mocking smile rising in my eyes. Vivian, I said, acting like this makes me think you still can't forget me. She kicked me to the ground. You think you deserve that? A sharp pain tore through my chest. My face went pale. I clenched my jaw, refusing to let a single groan escape. I crouched down and picked up the broken shell bracelet piece by piece. I slipped it into my pocket, ready to leave. I heard you did that back then for just $10,000. Here's $10,000 now, why don't you do it again? The crowd around us burst into laughter. She threw another $10,000 at me. If you think it's not enough, I'll add another $10,000. My face burned, humiliation and old pride rising together. I tried to leave, but the crowd hemmed me in. Vivian, let's go. A man like this doesn't deserve another glance from you. Just as Vivian and Nathan were about to get into the car, someone suddenly surrounded me. I crouched on the ground, arms wrapped tightly around myself, my vision blurring. For a moment I felt like a child again. Only this time no one was coming to save me. I was the one who had driven away the only person who ever protected me. Get away from him. Right after that, a coat, still warm with body heat, was draped over my shoulders. Ethan Gu, where's Chloe Liu? You abandoned me to go abroad with her, and this is the life you ended up with? Her tone was cold, but underneath it was a trace of concern she couldn't quite hide. I could see it in her eyes, that concern she wouldn't admit. She got tired of me and dumped me, but I was only ever after her money anyway. So I didn't lose out. Care to try me yourself, Ms. Bai? Vivian shoved me hard to the ground. Are you really this pathetic? This desperate for money? She had her assistant bring over $100,000, then hurled it at me. The sharp edge of the stack sliced my cheek open. A monthly package should come with a discount. Starting today, you're my servant. I'm going to take my time playing with you this month. With that, she left with Nathan in the car. I slowly picked up the $100,000 scattered on the ground. I laughed bitterly at myself. Not bad luck. I'd earned enough for my own grave in a single day. I took the money back to the funeral center. After paying, I took a cab to the address Vivian had given me. As soon as I arrived, the butler handed me a servant's uniform. Change into this quickly. Ms. Bai wants you keeping watch outside her door tonight. I changed and made my way to the second-floor bedroom door. Before I even got close, I could hear sounds from inside. I froze in place. Those sounds felt like invisible blades, cutting into my heart one strike at a time. My steps faltered. I wanted to flee, but the door suddenly opened, and her sharp gaze fell on me. How does it feel listening outside the door? I knew this was Vivian's revenge, but I couldn't let the past slip out. So I said, Ms. Bai has paid so much money, I'd be happy to offer a lesson myself. You really are trash, she said. Is there nothing you won't do for money? I let a teasing smile spread across my face. Of course. Who'd turn down money? Vivian shoved me away. A man like you disgusts me, but I doubt a beast would mind. Take him to the backyard, she ordered coldly, and let Cyber have some fun with him. 2 servants immediately came and dragged me toward the backyard. Only when we arrived did I realize Cyber was a ferocious Tibetan Mastiff. Looking at its massive bared teeth, I couldn't stop my whole body from shaking. A dog had bitten me as a child at the orphanage, and I'd carried a deep fear of dogs ever since. No, I don't want to go in. Let go of me. Please let me go. Ethan Gu, weren't you willing to do anything for money? Scared now? What little reason I had left forced me to keep control. I said, fighting back the tremor in my voice. I'll do anything for money. But this kind of work costs extra. What you're paying isn't enough. I'll add another 100,000. Just lock him in. The worker shoved me hard into the cage and sealed it shut. The Mastiff advanced on me at once, its steps heavy and menacing. I gripped the bars of the cage, terror and despair swallowing every last shred of my reason. My inner defenses collapsed. I couldn't stay calm anymore. Vivian, I was wrong. Please let me out. Vivian stared at me, watching the man who had once hurt her now kneeling before her, sobbing in remorse. Yet there was no satisfaction of revenge in her heart, only, unexpectedly, sorrow. Just then I let out a sudden scream. The Mastiff had sunk its teeth into my calf. Nathan arrived, freshly dressed, just in time to see the bodyguards helping me up. Vivian ran alongside, frantic, not even noticing when she knocked Nathan to the ground. His eyes bore into me with fury. A flash of jealousy and venom crossed his face. The next time I opened my eyes, I found myself lying on a soft bed, the wound on my calf already bandaged. Nathan stood by the bed. Seeing I was awake, he demanded sharply, Ethan, why did you even come back? Back then you abandoned Vivian while her heart was failing. Left her alone in a wedding suite. Do you have any idea how close she came to dying? When I got there, she'd vomited blood all over herself. And she was still calling out your name. It was pure luck she survived. The moment I got her to the hospital, a doctor came to tell us they'd found a matching heart. But the first thing she did after the transplant was go looking for you. She said she was finally healthy again, so you wouldn't be ashamed of her anymore. She said she'd work hard to give you the best life possible. And what did you do? You ran off overseas to live it up with some rich woman. Do you know how utterly desperate Vivian looked, crying at the airport? Tears slid down my face. My voice broke. These 3 years my suffering was no less than Vivian's. I was trapped in a lab that never saw daylight, unable to leave. Every day, nothing but endless pills and endless drug trials. Nathan pressed on. I spent 3 years by Vivian's side before I finally earned a place in her heart. Now we're finally getting married. And you, this man, come crawling back to bother her again, all for money. I wanted to say I wasn't after money. I was dying, and I only wanted to see Vivian one last time. But in the end, I couldn't say any of it. I will never let a jerk like you stay near Vivian, he said. With that, he yanked me off the bed, then slammed his own head against the wall. Bright red blood welled up from his forehead. Vivian rushed into the room at the sound and hurried to support Nathan. Nathan, are you all right? She asked urgently. Vivian, he said. He pushed me. I stood frozen where I was. I never expected Nathan would frame me like this. I opened my mouth to explain, but Vivian's foot slammed into me first, her eyes chillingly cold. If anything happens to Nathan, I'll make you pay with your life. With that, she rushed off, helping Nathan toward the hospital. I lay on the ground where she'd kicked me, sharp pain radiating through my stomach. The pain curled my whole body inward, but what hurt more was my heart. Vivian hated me, wanted me dead even. Wasn't this exactly what I wanted, Ethan? So why did it hurt so much I wanted to die on the spot? I don't know how long passed before. The butler and his men burst into the room and hauled me off to the hospital, handling me like I was some unforgivable criminal. At the hospital, Nathan's head had already been wrapped in bandages. He leaned against Vivian, pale-faced, her eyes full of concern for him. But the instant she saw me, that concern hardened back into bitter hatred. Kneel, she said. Apologize to Nathan. Hands forced me down onto my knees. I couldn't move, and by then I'd stopped struggling. My eyes filled with lifeless resignation. If I apologize, I said, will you let me go? Just let me leave? I'm so tired. Tired in body and tired in spirit. All I wanted was somewhere quiet to wait out my death in peace. At the word leave, something in her chest clenched involuntarily. She grabbed a cup from beside the bed and threw the water in my face. You're in no position to bargain with me. Ethan Gu, you couldn't repay what you owe me in a lifetime. Ms. Bai, honestly, this makes you seem like you can't take a joke. People fall in and out of love all the time. How does that make me indebted to you? You really have no heart at all. Hold him down. Make him kowtow to Nathan and admit his fault. Hands immediately forced my head down, slamming it against the hard floor. Once, twice, 3 times, until my forehead swelled red and raw, blood seeping through. It still didn't stop. Vivian, I'm fine now, let him go. Vivian wrapped an arm around Nathan's shoulders. Nathan, this man is vicious at heart. He actually dared to hurt you. Don't waste any pity on him. I'm not pitying him. I want you to let go for your own sake. Vivian, it's been 3 years. You should let him go. Nathan, don't overthink this. I stopped loving him long ago. All I want now is to make this heartless man pay. Was that really true? Of course, I promise you, before our wedding. I'll make sure he disappears from our lives for good. Hearing that, Nathan gave a reluctant nod. Vivian turned to look at me, my forehead still bleeding, and ordered, "Find a doctor and get him bandaged up." Dr. Lin pulled in at random, looked down and froze in shock. "Mr. Gu, it's you! You know him?" My heart lurched. Dr. Lin was the one who knew the truth about the heart transplant. Back then, he had warned me. Adrian Liu is a madman when it comes to pharmaceuticals. He put his own son into a vegetative state. If you become a test subject in his lab, it's practically trading your life for hers. I'd insisted. Even if it costs my life, I'll save Vivian. If Vivian questioned Dr. Lin any further, the truth about that year would come out. I spoke up first. Ms. Liu and I ended up in the emergency room by accident one night, and Dr. Lin was the one on duty. Vivian's face darkened frighteningly. "Sterilize this entire room, and everyone in it." With that order given, she left the room with Nathan. I grabbed the hem of Dr. Lin's coat and pleaded, "Dr. Lin, please don't tell Vivian the truth." Dr. Lin looked at me, battered and disheveled, and asked, "You spent 3 years being destroyed in that lab just to save her, and now, with so little time left, she still misunderstands you completely. Is it really worth it?" A faint, pale smile crossed my lips. My eyes were as resolute as they'd been back then. "It's worth it." Soon, a group of nurses in protective suits came in carrying disinfectant, spraying thick clouds of mist over me and the entire room until my eyes streamed with tears from the fumes. Dr. Lin let out a heavy sigh and handed me a tissue. Afterward, he cleaned and bandaged the wound on my forehead. Over the next few days, Vivian didn't do anything else quite that strange. She simply treated me like a servant to torment, making me hold a basin so she could soak her feet, then kicking the basin over and forcing me to my knees to wipe up the water. The meals I labored to cook, she dumped straight into the dog's bowl right in front of me. She took Nathan shopping at a luxury boutique and spent over $10 million buying out its entire stock of watches, making me carry each watch, on foot, back to the mansion, one at a time. I ran back and forth for a full day and night, until exhaustion made me collapse in the street. When I woke up in the hospital again, Dr. Lin told me, "Given how much you've pushed your body these past few days, it can't hold on much longer. You have, at most, 1 week left to live." Hearing that, I felt strangely, only relief. I could finally stop dragging this half-dead body through days consumed by suppressed longing for Vivian. But there was still one more thing I needed to do before I died. Right then, Vivian's call came through. Her voice on the line was commanding. "Ethan Gu, it was just anemia. How much longer are you going to slack off in that hospital bed? Get over to the romantic bridal boutique and help Nathan try on his suit." I got out of bed and hurried to the boutique. My face was so alarmingly pale that I asked a nurse to apply light makeup to cover it up. By the time I arrived at the boutique, Vivian and Nathan were already stepping out of the fitting room, dressed in her wedding gown and his suit. The gown, in soft shades of lavender, traced Vivian's figure perfectly. "This dress is absolutely beautiful. I heard Ms. Bai designed it herself." The lavender embroidery on the suit was recreated exactly from real flowers in Provence. Beautiful, and so devoted to him. Marrying a woman like her must be the reward of 8 lifetimes of good karma. I stood frozen in place, my eyes stinging with unexpected tears. This was the exact gown I had once designed for Vivian, and she had actually had it made. But now, wearing it, the man she wanted to marry was no longer me. Vivian gently smoothed Nathan's hair, but the moment she turned and her eyes landed on me, the warmth drained from her expression. "Your color's fine. So much for anemia. I knew it. You must have conspired with a doctor to fake it." "You caught me," I said. "I was hoping to squeeze out a few more days of rest." Ethan Gu, I didn't pay $100,000 to hire you for a month so you could relax. Hurry up and bring Nathan his shoes." I walked over and picked up the custom leather shoes off the rack, setting them down by Nathan's feet. He lifted his foot to slide it in, and stomped down hard on the back of my hand. "Ah! My hand!" Nathan lifted his foot slowly, unbothered. "Sorry, I didn't see where I was stepping." Vivian glanced at the bruise already forming on my hand. "He's just a servant. If you stepped on him, so what? Why would you need to apologize?" She walked over, crouching in front of Nathan to put the shoes on him herself. Nathan looked down at her, beaming, his eyes brimming with unmistakable love. The shop staff, quick to read the room, hurried over to help fix Nathan's outfit. Pushed aside by the crowd around him, I felt a bitter ache in my chest. With a dim, defeated look, I stepped out of the room. But before I'd gone more than a few steps, someone grabbed my arm from behind. Vivian pulled me into a nearby lounge. She blocked my path. "Ethan Gu, if you hadn't done what you did back then, all of this would belong to you today. You must regret it now, don't you?" Did I regret it? If I hadn't agreed to become a test subject, I wouldn't have endured those 3 years without a shred of daylight. I wouldn't be facing death now. But looking at Vivian, alive and standing right in front of me, I felt every bit of it had been worth it. I lifted my eyes to meet hers, and said, my gaze steady, no, I don't regret it. Why not? You abandoned me for money once, now I have both money and power. Why don't you regret it? I pushed her hand away, my cold tone masking the endless love inside me. No reason, I never regret the things I've done. With that, I pulled a bank card from my pocket and held it out to her. There's 64,000 left on this, take it back. From now on, I'm no longer your servant. Vivian, whatever this was between us, it's over. In that instant, Vivian was pulled back 3 years, to when I had stood before her with my arm around Chloe Lu, saying the same cold, heartless words. Vivian, I don't love you anymore. Starting today, whatever this was, it's over. When she said nothing, I pressed the card straight into her hand, and turned to walk away. I was afraid that if I stayed any longer I wouldn't be able to hold back what I felt. The instant my hand closed around the doorknob, Vivian rushed at me from behind. She wrapped her arms around my waist and pinned me to the wall. Ethan Gu, do you think I'm still that foolish girl from 3 years ago? You think you can leave whenever you want, discard me whenever you want? What are you doing? I said. Before I could finish, Vivian's lips crashed into mine, fierce and unrelenting. I struggled hard, but she only held me tighter. Suddenly the door swung open. Nathan stood in the doorway, eyes wide, staring at the two of us in disbelief. Reason returned to Vivian all at once. She let go of me, her eyes turning to Nathan, filled with guilt. Nathan! He staggered backward several steps, then turned and ran. Nathan! Every ounce of strength seemed to drain out of my body. Without Vivian holding me up anymore, I slid down the wall to the floor. I raised a hand to cover my face, but tears still slipped between my fingers. I could feel that Vivian still loved me, but I couldn't let myself respond. I was going to die soon. Why was fate torturing me and Vivian like this? Nathan ran out of the boutique and darted into the street, a speeding car bearing down on him. Vivian's reflexes saved him, yanking him back just in time. He wrenched his hand free and tried to lunge back into traffic. Why did you save me? Just let me die. That way you could be with Ethan Gu without hiding it. Vivian threw her arms around him, holding tight, pulling him aside. Nathan, listen to me. I don't want to hear it. I don't. Nathan, I really was planning to marry you, but from the moment Ethan Gu appeared in front of me again, I lost control of my own heart. I hate him, but I love him more. If I marry you now, knowing that, it wouldn't be fair to you either. Tears streamed down Nathan's face as he looked at her. I don't want fair. I just want to be with you. Ethan Gu doesn't deserve your love. He left you when you needed him most, when you were at your most helpless. I'm the one who stayed by your side this whole time. Vivian, why can't you just look at me? I've cared for you for 5 whole years, but I've loved Ethan Gu for 18. Since the first time I met him, at 7 years old in the orphanage, since the night he handed a piece of candy to me, crying quietly in the dark, he had already claimed a place in my heart. Even after he abandoned me, I never once stopped loving him. I'm sorry. It's me who doesn't deserve you. Vivian, wake up. Ethan Gu doesn't love you at all. He's only after your money. A fierce, unwavering courage burned in Vivian's eyes. Even if he only wants my money, I'll accept it. I'll only be grateful that I have money to give now. I can finally give Ethan Gu everything he ever wanted. Vivian led a shattered, dazed Nathan back into the boutique, ready to finally confess her true feelings to me. But before she could, I spoke first. Ms. Bai, the truth is, I only came back to find you because I'd had a fight with Chloe Lu. She just called me to make up. She booked me a flight back to America, and I've decided to go. I won't be at your wedding with Mr. Song. My congratulations in advance. May you have many children and 100 years of happiness. Ethan Gu, what have I ever really been to you this whole time? Do you really need me to spell it out, Ms. Bai? A backup option, of course. I only thought about coming back to you after Chloe and I broke up. Now that she's come back and made up with me, naturally I'll choose the one I actually want. You're not bad, Ms. Bai. It's just that I prefer someone like Chloe. Vivian's hand cracked across my face without warning. Ethan Gu, you are truly worthless. I raised a hand to cover my stinging cheek, and said, my voice breaking, That's right, I'm worthless. You should have known that 3 years ago, Ms. Bai. With that, I turned to leave, but Vivian threw out an arm, blocking my path. Ethan Gu, give me back my necklace. From now on, I never want to see you again. I stopped in my tracks. I reached up and unclasped the shell necklace from my neck, the one she had once crushed underfoot, then had painstakingly repaired. I held it out to her. She took it, then without hesitation, ground it beneath her heel once more, shattering it completely, until there was no chance left of ever repairing it. I heard something inside me break. Can I go now? I asked quietly. There's one more thing I need to give back to you. Once you accept it, whether I live or die will have nothing to do with me anymore. That was exactly the sentence I had been waiting to hear. I needed Vivian to go on living, healthy and happy and safe, long after I was gone. Vivian turned and murmured to Nathan, Nathan, wait here for me a moment. I'll be right back. And when I do, my heart will belong to you and you alone. Only ever you. All right, I'll wait. Vivian drove me to the largest candy shop in the city. Bring out every piece of candy in this store. The saleswoman, having never heard a request like this, asked uncertainly. Ma'am, are you sure you mean all of it? Vivian tossed a black card onto the counter. Yes, all of it. Before long, bag after bag of candy was carried out from the storeroom and piled in front of us. Vivian picked up an enormous sack and poured it out in front of me. Ethan Gu, when I was 7, you gave me a single piece of candy and took my heart with it. Now I'm giving you back 1,000, 10,000 times over to buy my heart back. My nails dug into my palms hard enough to draw blood. I forced my voice steady. Fine. Vivian, from this moment on we owe each other nothing. That's right, nothing at all. She didn't spare me another glance. She turned and walked away without looking back. I kept watching until her figure vanished completely into the crowd before I finally looked away. I tore open the candy scattered across the ground and pushed piece after piece into my mouth, not stopping until I made myself sick. I crouched on the ground and wept, loud and unrestrained, letting years of pain, injustice, and suppressed love for Vivian pour out through my sobs. Afterward, I asked the shop staff to pack up all the remaining candy and send it to the children at the city orphanage. The site I had chosen for my own funeral was Provence. I had booked a floral burial, my ashes to be scattered across the lavender fields there. Just as I was about to board the plane, a news broadcast came on the airport's giant screen reporting a car accident. I recognized the mangled wreck instantly. It was Vivian's car. My mind went completely blank. I ran straight for the hospital, calling Vivian's phone over and over the entire way. But no one ever answered. I prayed with everything in me, begging whatever power was listening to keep Vivian safe. I would have given everything I had left as the price. The patient had been stabilized and was no longer in danger, but the impact had struck her eyes directly, badly damaging both corneas. When she wakes, she'll be blind. The news hit Nathan like a blow. He grabbed the doctor's hands and begged, "Doctor, please, you have to fix this. Her eyes mean everything to her. She can't go blind. The only way to save her sight is a cornea transplant, but right now there's no donor available." I rushed straight to Dr. Lin. "I'll donate my corneas. Please operate now." Dr. Lin frowned. "Mr. Gu, corneas can't be donated from a living person, you know that. I only have days left anyway. Even so, the hospital has never removed corneas from a living donor. It isn't permitted, not legally, not ethically." I grabbed a sharp scalpel off a nearby tray and pressed it against my own throat. "If I have to be dead for this to work, then I'll die right now, in front of you." After tense negotiation, and once I'd signed a waiver, the hospital finally agreed to operate. I let out a breath of relief, turned to Nathan and said, "Please, don't ever tell Vivian the corneas came from me. What is actually going on? Why are you dying?" A wave of every overwrought drama he'd ever watched flashed through his mind, and his voice trembled as he asked, "Back then, was it really about money? Did you actually betray Vivian for money?" A faint smile crossed my face. "Mr. Song, please take good care of Vivian from now on." With that, I walked into the operating room without looking back. Inside, Vivian and I lay side by side on adjacent beds. I reached out and took her hand, our fingers interlacing, and finally spoke the name I'd kept buried in my heart. "Vivian, I'm so glad I got to do one last thing for you before the end. Vivian, I love you." Tears slid from the corners of my eyes as the anesthesia began flowing into my veins. I closed my eyes and my fingers, at last, went slack. Vivian felt as though she had drifted through one long, endless dream. In it was our first meeting at the orphanage, our first time holding hands, our first kiss, and then later my betrayal, and finally the two of us in the candy shop, declaring we owed each other nothing. Somewhere in that haze, she heard a voice say, "Cornea transplant successful. Donor Ethan Gu is deceased." My body, covered in a white sheet, was wheeled out of the operating room. Nathan rushed forward, panicked. "What happened to him?" "During the procedure, Mr. Gu went into shock from heart failure. He's passed away." Nathan stood frozen, unable to accept what he'd just heard. He had only just learned my betrayal of Vivian might have hidden reasons behind it. And now, right in front of him, I was gone. Just then, a staff member from the funeral center arrived, holding the agreement I had signed while still alive, and approached the doctor. "Mr. Gu booked his own funeral 10 days ago. Please release his body to us." Once the details were verified, the doctor handed my body over to the funeral center staff. Nathan rushed forward to stop them. "You're saying Ethan Gu booked his own funeral 10 days ago?" It was more than Nathan could process all at once. 10 days ago was the very day Ethan and Vivian had crossed paths again. So he already knew he was going to die even then. "Yes, we'll now be carrying out the agreement, cremating Mr. Gu's body and holding the funeral as arranged." With that, they wheeled my body away. Nathan's instinct was to stop them. But at that moment, Vivian was wheeled out of the operating room, and he had no attention left for anything else. He went straight to her side in the ICU. 2 hours later, Vivian woke from the anesthesia to find Nathan keeping watch at her bedside. She couldn't hide the disappointment that washed over her. Her dream had been filled entirely with me, but the face she woke up to wasn't mine. She thought to herself. That heartless man was probably already on a flight to America, back in Chloe Lu's arms. "Vivian, you're awake," he said. "Nathan, I've worried you," she said. "Vivian, as long as you're okay." The attending doctor came in to check on her post-surgery. "Vision is normal, no signs of rejection following the cornea transplant." "What? You're saying I had a cornea transplant?" Back in the operating room, she had faintly heard someone say something, and she had assumed it was only part of her dream. Had it not been a dream after all? "That's right, the accident caused severe damage to your corneas. Without the transplant, you would have gone blind." "Who?" she asked. Who donated their corneas to me? Out of confidentiality, we can't share any information about the donor. With that, the doctor turned and left. Vivian immediately threw off her blanket trying to get out of bed. Vivian, what are you doing? If they won't tell me, I'll find out myself. Panic churned inside her. A fear that what she'd heard in her dream might actually be true. Nathan gently held her back. I already know who it was. It was a woman who died of cardiac shock. Hospital policy keeps donor names confidential, but I happened to see it during the surgery. I've already had my assistant send her family a sum of money in compensation. The tension in Vivian's chest eased, and she sank back onto the bed. She let out a self-mocking laugh. Nathan, you know, I had such a long dream in that operating room. Ethan Gu was in every part of it. I even dreamed it was him who donated the corneas to me. Isn't that ridiculous? Once, Nathan wouldn't have hesitated to tear me down, but now the words wouldn't come, because it really had been Ethan who donated the corneas to Vivian, and it had cost him his life. Nathan tightened his grip on her hand. Vivian, let go of Ethan Gu. Treat those old memories as nothing more than a dream. Brilliant, beautiful, and painfully unforgettable, but still just a dream. Vivian closed her eyes. After a long moment, she nodded slowly. She really did need to look forward now. Ethan Gu, from this moment on, I will erase you completely from my memory. A week later, Vivian was discharged from the hospital. She threw herself into planning her wedding with Nathan. News of the wedding spread everywhere online, but the closer the date came, the heavier the weight grew in her chest. More than once, the thought crossed her mind to run away, to fly to America and find me. But every time the thought surfaced, she forced herself to crush it. She reminded herself that Nathan had saved her life, that he had stood by her through the darkest, lowest point of her life. She couldn't betray him now. Slowly, she learned to numb herself. It was the only way she could keep from feeling the pain. Eyes hazy with drink one night, Vivian clung to Nathan's hand, begging him for answers over and over. I loved you so much. Why were you so cruel to me? I could forgive you for leaving me. I could let go of everything you did with Chloe in America. Ethan, come back to me. Ethan, please, I have money now. I have power. I can give you everything you ever dreamed of. Why did you still choose her over me? Why? Why indeed? Nathan's own heart ached watching her. He had always known Vivian loved me deeply, no matter how well she hid it in the daylight. He knew, too, that not a single moment had passed when she'd truly forgotten me. After putting Vivian to bed, Nathan stepped out of the mansion and looked up at the dark, heavy sky. They say that when people die, they become stars. Ethan Gu, have you become one too by now? What kind of man were you really? He had once thought of me as nothing but a gold digger. Materialistic, vain, cruel. But after the cornea donation, Nathan had begun to sense that all along they had misjudged me entirely. Perhaps there was a hidden truth behind it all. But now, he told himself, there was no point digging further. I was already gone. The dead couldn't return, and the truth might only bring them more torment. He set himself a deadline, marked by the wedding day. If Vivian truly walked hand in hand with him down the aisle, he would love her without reservation, protect her, and spend the rest of his life keeping her warm. But if the wedding never happened, it would only mean they were never meant to be. Then he would let her go, and finally tell her the truth about the corneas. 3 days before the wedding, relatives from both the Bai and Song families gathered to prepare for the ceremony. Vivian had lost both parents as a child and been sent to an orphanage, so she had almost no relatives of her own to speak of. The Song family, by contrast, was large, and many relatives had flown in from abroad for the wedding. Nathan's cousin, Kevin Song, made a special trip from America, bringing his girlfriend along. Nathan, Vivian, this is my girlfriend, Chloe Liu. For a moment the whole room fell silent. Vivian's eyes locked onto Chloe, unblinking. You're his girlfriend? Then what about Ethan Gu? Chloe felt as though a cold, venomous snake had fixed its gaze on her. Once she recognized Vivian, she couldn't help thinking what a small world it was. Years ago she'd staged that fake affair as a favor to me, and now somehow she'd ended up related to Vivian by marriage. A little embarrassed at the memory, she laughed it off awkwardly. Ethan and I? That was ages ago. We split up a long time back. Kevin is my real love. Vivian's hand cracked across her face. You lured Ethan back to America, and now you're claiming Kevin is your true love? Today I'm going to teach you a lesson, you two-timing snake. The sudden slap left Chloe stunned for a moment. Then snapping back to her senses, she threw a punch right back. Don't spread lies about me. What I feel for Kevin is real. When was I ever two-timing anyone? Nathan and Kevin rushed in to pull the two women apart. You keep saying it's real with him, then where does that leave Ethan Gu? If you never loved him, why did you take him away from me back then? Why did you take him overseas? Hearing how pointed and specific Vivian's accusations were, Kevin couldn't help but turn to Chloe himself. Did you really do something behind my back? Kevin, do you really doubt how real my feelings are for you? Then what is she talking about? With no other way out, Chloe finally blurted out the truth. What happened back then was just an act. Ethan Gu asked me to help him fake it. What? Back then, Ethan told me he needed to leave you for a while. He was worried you wouldn't let him go, so he asked me to help stage the whole thing to push you away. Nothing actually happened between us. And as for taking him to America, that was just his cover story. Another way to keep you away. For those 3 years I was in America, I never once saw another man near her. Once Vivian had processed what Chloe just said, She asked again, hardly daring to believe it. Are you saying everything, him being with you behind my back, was faked? Him going to America with you, was that fake too? Yes. The moment Chloe confirmed it, Vivian turned and walked straight out. If all of that had been fake, then what Ethan told her last time, about reconciling with Chloe and going back to America, must have been fake too. Where had he actually spent these 3 years? Why had he lied to her? Vivian's mind spun with too many questions at once. Only finding me could answer them. Nathan hurried after her. Vivian, are you going to find him? Nathan, I just need to hear the truth from him myself. I need to know why he lied to me. And after you find out, will you still marry me? Her lips parted, but no certain answer would come. Nathan, I can't think straight right now. I just need to find him as soon as I can. A bitter smile touched Nathan's lips. I think I already have my answer. Nathan, I'm sorry. I'll go apologize to your parents in person, later. With that, she pulled out her phone and called her assistant, asking them to track down where I was. Vivian, you don't need to look. I know exactly where Ethan Gu is. Joy surged through Vivian all at once. She didn't even stop to wonder how Nathan would know that. She asked, unable to wait. Where? Where is he? Nathan drew a slow, deep breath and said quietly, He's dead. Ethan Gu is dead. Vivian's expression darkened instantly. Nathan, I'm sorry. I'm the one who let you down, but why would you curse him like that? Nathan shook his head and forced out the brutal truth. I'm not cursing him. He really is dead. It happened the same day as your accident. The corneas you received, they came from him. Vivian's whole body swayed. She nearly collapsed. That's impossible. You're lying to me. Ethan wouldn't die. But the words the doctor had spoken that day in the operating room echoed in her mind, again and again. Cornea transplant successful. Donor Ethan Gu is deceased. She raised her hands and struck her own head in agony. So it had been true that day. Not a hallucination. A moment later, blood surged from her mouth. She collapsed to the ground, murmuring the same words over and over. I killed him. I killed Ethan. Nathan immediately called for emergency help and rushed Vivian to the hospital. After emergency treatment, Vivian was pulled back from the edge of death. She lay motionless on the hospital bed, as if every last bit of life had been drained out of her. Nathan sat beside her, his eyes rimmed red, holding her hand. Vivian, please, stay strong. You didn't kill Ethan Gu. He was already dying anyway. At last, some flicker of response returned to Vivian. She lifted her eyes to him. What do you mean he was already dying? That day, Ethan rushed to the hospital wanting to donate his corneas to you. At first, Dr. Lin refused. Living donors weren't allowed. So he grabbed a scalpel and held it to his own throat, saying he was already going to die anyway. If death was the only way to make him eligible, he'd die right there on the spot. The hospital only agreed after he signed a waiver. During the operation, he went into shock from heart failure and died. The moment he passed, staff from a funeral center arrived to claim his body. They said he'd booked his own funeral 10 days earlier, the very day you two crossed paths again. So, Vivian, you didn't kill him, Vivian said. Bring me Dr. Lin. Dr. Lin was brought before her shortly after. Ms. Bai, what did you need me for? Her eyes narrowed, sharp and fixed on him. I want to know everything about Ethan Gu. Dr. Lin feigned confusion. I don't know anything about a Mr. Gu. Are you sure you have the right person? Dr. Lin, you're a smart man. I'd rather not have to be rough with you. Looking at the woman before him, weakened but still radiating unmistakable force, he couldn't help but remember the tearful plea I had once made to him. So he said, Ms. Bai, sometimes it's better not to hold on to the past too tightly. Sometimes ignorance is a kindness. And if I insist on knowing anyway? All right then. Mr. Gu loved you so deeply you deserve to know it. Not let it be buried with him forever. Ms. Bai, 3 years ago when your heart suddenly failed, the boy whose heart was donated to you was in a vegetative state. Do you know who his father was? I remember his father directed a pharmaceutical research lab. Because his son's heart was given to me, I got a second chance at life. After my company took off, I've donated a substantial sum to that lab every single year to support their research. Dr. Lin's voice grew heavy. Adrian Liu is obsessed to the point of madness. His mother died of ALS, and his life's mission has been finding a cure for it. When he first started his lab, short on both funding and staff, he was willing to use his own son as a test subject. That's how his son ended up in a vegetative state. What human drug trials need most is always living test subjects. 3 years ago, when you desperately needed his son's heart to survive, he saw an opportunity. He offered Mr. Gu a condition in exchange. Vivian's eyes widened sharply. An answer was already forming in her mind, and her voice trembled without her meaning it to. What condition? He asked Mr. Gu to volunteer as his human drug trial subject. 3 years as a living test subject. Those untested drugs destroyed his health long ago. Multiple organ failure from the drugs left him unable to continue in the trials. So Adrian Liu finally released him from the lab. Having heard the whole story, Nathan, standing nearby, was stunned. He never imagined the truth was this. My love for Vivian ran so deep I had been willing to trade my own life for hers. It felt as though an invisible hand had seized Vivian's heart, crushing the breath out of her. She murmured, Ethan. My Ethan, he did so much for me, endured so much pain, and what did I do? I picked fights with him, humiliated him, tormented him, just to make him submit. Now she wished she could go back and destroy the person she used to be. But before that she needed to avenge him. Her eyes burned red, and she looked like the very judge of the underworld as she spoke, each word soaked in fury. Adrian Liu, you will pay for this in blood. When Adrian Liu received an invitation from biotech, he arrived at once, contract in hand. Biotech was offering $10 billion in research funding. Adrian was overjoyed. With that kind of money, he was certain he could finally develop a cure for ALS. He would go down in history as a great man remembered for generations. Only this time, the meeting wasn't held at biotech's offices as usual, but at Vivian's private residence, and he alone had been invited. Blinded by his own excitement, Adrian brushed past the warning signs entirely. Please, Dr. Liu, make yourself at home. Ms. Bai, your generosity is beyond words. Thank you for supporting our research. A toast to you. Adrian drained his glass in one go. Vivian said, speaking of generosity, if you hadn't so generously given me your son's heart back then, I wouldn't be standing here today. Not at all, not at all. A physician's compassion. I'm a man of medicine, after all. I couldn't just stand by and let someone die. Vivian slammed her glass to the floor. A physician's compassion, is it? Tell me, Dr. Liu, is using a healthy living person as a lab rat your idea of compassion? The outburst startled Adrian badly. Sensing something was wrong, he rose to his feet. Ms. Bai, I don't know what you're talking about. It seems today's contract won't be moving forward. I'll be going now. He turned to leave at once, only to find the door had been locked from outside. At the same moment, strength drained from his limbs entirely, until he could barely stand. Vivian rose slowly, unhurried, and walked toward him. Ms. Bai, let's talk about this calmly. Isn't this some kind of misunderstanding? Misunderstanding, Adrian Liu? Do you remember the condition you set for your son's heart donation? You tortured Ethan in your lab for 3 full years, and now you tell me it's a misunderstanding? Looking at a portrait of me, Adrian's mind drifted back to how it all began. Back then, his lab had lacked funding and, more critically, test subjects, leaving him without the clinical data. He needed to move his research forward. Right at that point, this young man had come to him, kneeling before him, begging him to donate his vegetative son's heart to save the woman he loved, promising to repay him however he asked, for the rest of his life. So Adrian had made his offer, become a test subject at the lab. It wasn't until recently, when years of trials had left his body failing severely, that he was finally deemed unfit to continue and released. Ms. Bai, he volunteered to be a test subject. I never forced him into it. He volunteered, but I never agreed to it. I would rather have died myself than have him save me this way. Ms. Bai, please, spare me, spare me. I'll spare your life, but did you ever spare Ethan? Ms. Bai, I truly had no idea he meant so much to you. If I had known, I wouldn't have dared touch him even with 10 times the courage. You've built such a successful life. There's no need to ruin the rest of it over a worthless life like mine. Nothing you say today will save you from your fate. Just then, the door burst open from outside. Nathan, taking in the scene at a glance, moved at once to hold Vivian back. Vivian, don't do anything rash. Adrian Liu's illegal experiments will be punished by the law. Please don't do something you'll regret. Nathan, tell me, what exactly counts as something to regret? Ethan became a human test subject to save me, and hid it from me, choosing instead to let me believe a lie, to let me hate him. Is that not foolish enough? Dying, and still he chose to give me his corneas, and died on the operating table because of it. Is that not foolish? He loved me so much, gave me everything he had, and I didn't even know he'd died. I was busy planning a lavish wedding to someone else. Tell me, wasn't that foolish of him? He was foolish for me more times than I can count. What's wrong with me being foolish for him just once? Vivian, everything Mr. Gu did was so that you could live well. Don't let his hopes go to waste. I only wanted to live because he was alive. Vivian, do you want to go to hell after you die, separated from him forever? Would there really be a next life? This life, for her, was already destined to be full of regret. Ethan was gone. She would never be with him again. She wanted a next life with him. There will be. There must be. And a man as good as Mr. Gu would surely go to heaven. Vivian glanced down at Adrian, unconscious on the floor, and called for security to take him to the hospital. Just keep him alive, that's all. Afterward, she led a team to raid his research lab. Through the recovered footage, she saw exactly what my 3 years there had been like. On the first day, I was still the same sunny young man she remembered, but the researchers here had never treated me as a person at all. Only as a research sample. They drew my blood over and over, dosed me with drugs, ran tests day after day, forcing pills down and logging data. No one cared about the pain those drugs put me through. As the chemicals ate away at me, my complexion grew worse by the day, my spirit more hollow with each passing week. By the end of the footage, my body had failed to the point it could no longer withstand the drugs at all. I writhed in agony on the floor, and still, through it all, I kept calling her name. Vivian, it hurts so much. Vivian, I miss you so much. Vivian reached out and touched the small figure on the screen, wishing desperately she could smooth the furrow from my brow, could take that pain in my place. Tears of regret and anguish rolled down her face. She hated herself for not noticing anything was wrong when I'd come back to her. Back then, all she'd cared about was her own anger. She'd hated me, humiliated me, tormented me, wanting me to break down and submit, wanting to hear me admit regret, wanting to find some trace of love still left in me. But she was disappointed again and again. She hated how cold I'd been to her, hated that I had thrown away everything we'd built together over the years. But now Vivian understood. It wasn't that I didn't love her, it was that I loved her too much. That was why I'd hidden my love behind such cruel words. Vivian found the room I had lived in at the lab. It was barely large enough for a bed, and it had no window at all. Cramped, suffocating, and I had spent 3 years there. She curled her whole body onto that narrow bed, as if she might still feel my warmth there, might still sense the burning, unspoken love I'd carried for her. "Ethan, I miss you so much." In a daze, the memory of the day she confessed her feelings to me rose up before her. We had both just turned 18. By policy, we could no longer stay at the orphanage. After more than 10 years living there, our belongings amounted to almost nothing. I picked up my things, glancing back at the orphanage with every step, and said, "Vivian, I've lived here since the day I was born. This place is my home. Right now it feels like I'm being abandoned all over again. It hurts." Vivian hesitated for a moment, then reached out and took my hand. "You still have me. I'm your family too. I will never abandon you." I pulled my hand away and said, half jokingly, half sour, "They say women forget their friends the second some guy shows up. If you ever get a boyfriend, you'll toss me aside without a second thought. I saw that campus heartthrob confess to you last week. Didn't I turn him down?" I turned away and ignored her. "Even if you turned him down, there'll be some other handsome guy eventually. Sooner or later you'll say yes to someone." I had just turned 18, right at the age when first love takes root, and my feelings for Vivian had already grown deep. But all along, the care she showed me had felt like an older sister's toward a younger brother. I had no idea what her feelings for me actually were. I was too afraid to ask, and just as afraid someone else might take her from me one day. Vivian, understanding exactly what I meant, smiled. "Actually, I know a way to fix this for good, one that guarantees even if I get a boyfriend, I'll never leave you behind." I smacked her arm and said, "Vivian, you're actually thinking about getting a boyfriend? Unbelievable, I'm never speaking to you again." I stormed off, furious. But Vivian grabbed me right away. "Would you let me finish? I don't care, you're just not allowed to have a boyfriend." She pulled me into a hug. "Ethan, be my boyfriend. Let's take our relationship further. Someday we could even get married. Would you want that?" I froze, then nodded slowly. Once we'd finally shared our feelings openly, we realized we had already claimed each other, long before either of us admitted it. Vivian teased that she'd been afraid of scaring me off. She'd planned to wait until college to confess. She hadn't expected me to be even more impatient than she was. If she'd waited any longer, she said, I might have cried. Embarrassed, I threw 2 harmless little punches at her arm. Our first kiss happened by Swan Lake on our college campus. It was Christmas Day. Vivian had just come back from a part-time job, nearly midnight already. I was waiting for her at the campus gate. When she saw me, she was both annoyed and touched and quickly unwound her own scarf to wrap around my neck. "I told you not to wait up for me. It hurts me to see you like this." I pressed my lips together, blinking up at her. "But it hurts me too, seeing you work so hard." Back then, I had wanted to take a job alongside her, not wanting her to bear all that hardship alone. But she'd said, "Ethan, everything I do is for you. If you insist on this, it'll make me feel useless. All I need is for you to stay happy and healthy by my side." I don't know how long had passed when Vivian's phone rang, pulling her sharply out of her memories. Her assistant's voice came through the line, breathless with excitement. "Miss Bai, we found it. We know where Ethan's ashes were buried." The moment she'd learned of my death, Vivian had sent people to the funeral center to track down my ashes, but the staff there had said the deceased had signed a confidentiality agreement, and they would not release any of my information to anyone. Through some pressure of her own, Vivian had learned I had booked a lavender floral burial in Provence, though the exact location remained unknown. So she'd sent her assistant to Provence to search for the precise location, while she herself stayed behind to avenge me personally. Now, with my ashes finally located, she could finally be with me for good. "Ethan, please slow down, wait for me." "Ms. Bai, it's not his ashes. Mr. Gu isn't dead. He's alive in Aix-en-Provence." Half an hour later, a private jet lifted off from the city, bound for Aix-en-Provence. "Ethan, you're up. Why didn't you call for me? What if you'd fallen?" A faint smile crossed my lips as I stared ahead, my eyes unfocused. I woke up and wanted to smell the flowers. I know my way around by now. I won't fall that easily. Back in the operating room, I had gone into shock and been declared dead by the doctors. But as the funeral center staff carried my body toward cremation, my heart had, somehow, slowly begun beating again. Cheating death that way had brought me no joy at all, because I knew death was still my final destination. I had no idea what purpose these extra days served. I simply had the funeral center staff bring me straight to Provence, to wait quietly for the end. No sooner had I said this, than my legs gave out and I stumbled. "Kevin, no." Leo Su rushed to help me into a nearby chair. "Ethan, you're too weak. Please, just sit." I fumbled a card out of my pocket, and pressed it into Leo's hand. "Leo, thank you for taking care of me these past few days. I have a feeling my time is nearly up. There's several $1,000s left on this card. Consider it payment for your trouble." Leo waved his hands quickly, then, remembering I couldn't see the gesture, pressed the card back into my hand. "No need, Ethan. Taking care of you is my job, and honestly, I feel like we've genuinely connected. Looking after you has never felt like a burden." I placed the card in his hand again. I'm an orphan, and I'll be dead soon. This money won't do me any good. If you won't keep it, could I ask you to donate it to an orphanage once you're back home, after I'm gone? Leo finally accepted the card and said solemnly, Ethan, don't worry. I promise your kindness will reach those kids. Thank you, Leo. Ethan, do you really believe people go to heaven after they die? Why do you ask? I just watched this really heartbreaking drama recently. In the end, the male lead dies, but before that he promises the female lead he'll wait for her in heaven. When I was young, the caretakers at the orphanage always told us that people who lived without doing harm, whose souls stayed pure, would go to heaven when they died. Then someone as kind as you would definitely make it to heaven. I've heard heaven is a place without sorrow, without pain, only eternal happiness. But would a world without Vivian really make me happy? I didn't know. I'd grown up in that orphanage, where all the children wore the same haircuts, the same clothes, followed the same fixed schedule every day, ate the same meals, everything carried a stale, lifeless feeling. Then, when I was 7, Vivian arrived. She was different from everyone else in every way, and she caught my attention instantly. That night, I found her hiding under her blanket, crying quietly by herself. I lifted the blanket and asked why she was crying. Children raised in an orphanage grow up far too fast. Most of us had stopped crying by the time we were very young because we knew crying solved nothing. It never fixed anything. She said, I miss my mom and dad, but your mom and dad already don't want you anymore. In my mind at the time, only children abandoned by their parents ended up in a place like this. That single sentence only made her cry harder. In the end, out of options, I dug out a piece of milk candy I'd been saving for ages, unwrapped it, and pushed it into her mouth. That finally stopped her tears. It was the first step toward becoming close friends. I later learned Vivian had ended up there because her parents had died in an accident, which made her different from those of us abandoned at birth. But somehow, deep down, it felt the same. Because neither of us had parents anymore. Vivian would tell me about the world beyond the orphanage, a life I'd never known, and I grew to love sticking close to her, filled with longing for the world outside. Through 11 years at that orphanage, we were each other's only support, each other's only family. At 18, I confessed my feelings to her. We got into the same university together. In our junior year, Vivian earned her first real money coding software. She bought a small 3-bedroom place, and from then on, we finally had a home of our own. In that apartment, we shared our first time together. We planned to marry right after graduation, to have 2 children, to build a happy family of 4. But fate had other plans. We had spent 15 years together, and Vivian occupied every corner of my life. Even in heaven, without her, I would never be happy. I suddenly found myself envying the male lead in that drama Leo had mentioned. Even in death, he'd had a promise waiting for him in heaven with the woman he loved most. I had nothing like that. I didn't even dare let Vivian know I had died. She would never know I was waiting for her in heaven. Ethan, why are you crying? I quickly wiped the tears from my face. It's nothing, the wind just got in my eyes. But there wasn't a hint of wind. Still, Leo didn't call out the lie. He knew I was nowhere near as at peace as I appeared. Facing death, who wouldn't feel fear, wouldn't panic? Especially at my age. It really wasn't fair. A man as kind as Ethan, and life had given him so little time. Ethan, let me read you the news. It had become one of our daily rituals, because I couldn't see. Leo would pick out amusing offbeat stories to read aloud. He scrolled through his phone, cleared his throat, and began. First up, a couple dreamed they'd won a $5 million lottery jackpot, and ended up in a huge fight over how to split it. A student surnamed Lee found a mature, elegant girlfriend online, only, when they met in person, it turned out to be his roommate's mother. A robber stole over $10,000 in cash, only to have a pickpocket steal it right back from him. So the robber called the police, furious. He read through a few more stories. But Leo noticed I was only tugging the corner of my mouth half-heartedly, none of it reaching a genuine smile. He could tell my mood had sunk lower than usual. Ethan, what's wrong today? Are you not feeling well? No, I said. I just didn't sleep well last night. The truth was, I hadn't slept at all. Because today was Vivian and Nathan's wedding. The woman I loved most was getting married today, and the groom wasn't me. Then let me help you inside to rest for a bit? I shook my head anyway, as if I'd made up my mind about something. Leo, can you pull up the live stream of Vivian and Nathan's wedding for me today? Ethan, why would you want to watch their wedding stream? Leo asked, confused, but did as I asked anyway. Back home, I'd heard how extravagant the wedding would be. The decor alone had cost over $100 million. I wanted to hear it to know just how lavish it truly was, if only to satisfy my own quiet longing for what a wedding could be. Leo pulled up a fairly popular live stream, and worried I might not hear clearly, turned the volume all the way up. Welcome everyone just joining the stream. Today I'll be covering the full luxury wedding of tech mogul Vivian Bai and Nathan Song of the Song family. Word has it Ms. Bai's fiancé loves lavender, so the whole event is styled in soft purple. Even the ballroom chandeliers are made from amethyst crystal. The host went on and on, walking viewers through every inch of the venue. From the flowers flown in specially for the occasion to the silk carpet laid down the center aisle, I listened closely, picturing the scene taking shape in my mind. An hour later, Nathan appeared at the entrance in a suit. Here he comes! The couple's about to take the stage! Don't go anywhere, everyone! Nathan stepped across the carpet in a plain white suit, walking steadily toward the stage, his gaze resolute. That's odd. Why is there only a groom? Where's the bride? And didn't reports say his suit was supposed to be lavender-themed, designed by Ms. Bai herself? Why is he just wearing a plain white suit today? Nathan reached center stage, took the microphone, and addressed the guests below. Welcome everyone, for traveling so far to be here today. I want to thank you all sincerely. Before we begin, I have an announcement to make. Today's wedding is cancelled. The moment those words left his mouth, the room erupted. A wedding, cancelled right there on the spot. It sounded absurd no matter how you heard it, and murmurs spread through the crowd. No bride in sight, just the groom, standing alone, announcing the cancellation. Something huge had to be behind it. Did the groom cheat and get caught? Watching through the stream, I sat frozen in shock myself. Why would their wedding be cancelled? Why wasn't Vivian even there? A flood of possibilities crowded into my mind at once. Canceling this wedding was a decision Vivian and I made together. To both of us, marriage means something sacred. On the eve of the ceremony, we realized we simply aren't right for each other. Neither of us believes in settling in a marriage. On that, we agree completely. So rather than walk into a marriage only to drift apart later, only in name, we decided to stop this mistake before it began. He bowed deeply to the crowd. Thank you again everyone for coming. Since I've already promised to cover every cost of today's event, please just enjoy this as a large gathering among friends. Mr. Song, if canceling the wedding was truly a mutual decision, then why isn't Ms. Bai here herself? You're the only one facing all of this alone. The day before, just before boarding the plane, Vivian had called Nathan to tell him she was flying to Provence to find me. As for the wedding, she'd planned to have her assistant post the cancellation through her own personal account, letting all the backlash and criticism fall on her alone, so that Nathan could walk away from the broken engagement untouched. But Nathan had refused. He told her to go find me without any worries at all. He would handle the wedding himself. One last stand for the love he'd carried. That was why he'd worn his favorite white suit. In his own way, he'd married her, at least once in this lifetime. He knew he could never match my love for her, but he refused to let his own love fall too far short of it. Nathan said, "There's a flaw in your question. First, I don't consider this a big deal. I can handle it myself. As for Vivian, she has something far more important to attend to. Something that matters more to her than her own life. And as her friend, of course I'll support her fully." Nathan's father joined him on stage, family beside him, standing behind him fully, quickly leaving the reporters with nothing left to ask. Nathan looked at the family standing beside him in support, warmth rising in his chest, and in his heart he offered Vivian his most sincere blessing, that she would find me safely, and that we would never be parted again. He had always seen how deeply Vivian loved me. He'd thought her love for me had cost her too much. Only now did he understand my love had cost even more. Ours had always been a love that ran both ways. He hoped fate would finally show mercy to these two people who loved each other so much, and stop tormenting them. As the live stream ended, you can tell Mr. Song still loves her, just like the old saying goes, it's usually a devoted woman and a heartless man. Even after all that, he's still defending her. If you ask me, Ms. Bai's the one who had a change of heart. She's got to be the bad one here. Ethan, don't you think so? But my mind was consumed entirely by the wedding's cancellation. I hadn't even registered what Leo just said. Why had they really called it off? Had Vivian found something out? Ethan, are you okay? Were you even listening? What did you say? I said the wedding must have been called off because Vivian had a change of heart. She's got to be the villain here. Suddenly Leo let out a startled cry, jolting me. Leo, what's wrong? He stared wide-eyed at the travel-worn figure suddenly standing before him, too stunned to speak. He swore to himself he'd never gossip behind anyone's back again. Who could blame him? The missing bride from the wedding had just appeared right in front of him. He was about to say something to me when he saw the newcomer pull me straight into an embrace. His eyes went even wider. I felt myself suddenly wrapped in someone's arms, and for a moment thought it was Leo before immediately sensing something was wrong. Who are you? Let go of me. She didn't say a word, only held me tighter. Being blind, I lived every moment in a quiet undercurrent of alarm, and I began to struggle until I felt something warm land against the side of my neck. She was crying. Vivian's face flashed instantly through my mind. Ethan, it's me. My heart lurched. Only one thought filled my mind. She knew everything. I pushed her away in a panic, turned and tried to run. No, I can't let this happen. But I'd barely gone 2 steps before my blindness sent me tumbling to the ground. Vivian rushed to catch up, gathering me into her arms with unbearable tenderness, her voice heavy with longing and hurt. Ethan, how much longer are you going to push me away? You shouldn't be here. You should be back home at your wedding beside Nathan. Why are you here? Ethan, I love you. Not a single day has gone by that I stopped loving you. Please don't push me away again. But, she cut me off. I love you. 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 Vivian didn't want to hear anything else right then. She only wanted to pour her love out to me. 3 years of buried longing broke free all at once. I reached out and held her tight, tears streaming down my face. But I'm going to die, Vivian, I'm going to die. I couldn't stay by her side forever. I didn't want her to watch me die, and I didn't want her spending the rest of her life drowning in guilt and grief over me. Vivian gently touched my cheek, wiping away the tears streaming down it. Ethan, I won't let you die. From this moment on, I don't care if I have to search heaven and earth. You're never leaving me again. With that, she gripped my hand firmly. On the way there, she had already reached out to the most respected specialists available. She was determined to wrestle my life back from death itself. Vivian helped me into the car, and soon we arrived at the hospital. After a thorough examination, the doctor looked at the report in his hands, sighing over and over. Every one of his organs has been pushed far past its limit. There's also extensive tissue damage from long-term exposure to unknown drugs. Frankly, it's a miracle he's lasted this long. Vivian refused to accept it. She snatched the report from the doctor's hands. Aren't you supposed to have the most advanced medical technology available? Money is no object. Just save him. Miss Bai, I'm sorry, but there is truly nothing we can do for him. His body has completely run its course. He could pass away at any... The doctor left the sentence unfinished, but everyone in the room understood exactly what he meant. You're wrong. You're the one who's failed him, and now you dare curse him with those words. I lay on the bed and reached out for her. Vivian. She immediately let go and hurried to my side, taking my hand. Ethan, I'm here. Vivian, take me back. I know my own body. Please don't put the doctors through this anymore. Ethan, don't listen to him. You're perfectly healthy. You're going to live a long, healthy life. Vivian, please take me home. I don't want to spend the last of my time in a hospital. Ethan, please, listen to me. This hospital just isn't good enough. I'll take you somewhere else. Vivian, please stop lying to yourself. Getting to see you one last time before I die, to touch your face just once more, that's already enough for me. Refusing to give up, Vivian took me to another hospital. The verdict was exactly the same. My body had reached its absolute limit, and death could come at any moment. At my insistence, Vivian finally brought me back to the wooden cabin near the lavender fields. The entire way she carried herself with a fragile, anxious edge, holding me close, not daring to even blink, terrified that the next second I might simply close my eyes and slip away without a sound. Sensing her fear, I reached up along her arm and found her cheek. Vivian, I said gently, don't be afraid. Her eyes reddened, and she buried her face against the back of my neck. Ethan, why did you have to be so foolish? I would rather have died myself than let you end up like this. Vivian, if our positions had been reversed 3 years ago, what would you have done? Vivian found herself seriously weighing the question. In the end, only one answer came to mind. If our roles had truly been swapped, she would almost certainly have made the exact same choice, because our love for each other had always outweighed our own lives. I definitely wouldn't be as foolish as you. I'd have married you, and after you died, given it a few years, I'd have forgotten you and remarried. Vivian, you're impossible. If I'd known you'd say that, I wouldn't have bothered saving you. Ethan, you shouldn't have. But Vivian, I couldn't let you die. I needed you alive, safe and well in this world. Ethan, what's the point of me living in a world without you in it? That was exactly what I had always feared most, which was why I never dared let her learn the truth. Vivian, I need you to promise me, even after I'm gone, you'll go on living well. I'll allow you 3 years to mourn me. But after that, you have to marry Nathan and build a family of your own. Seeing me, in this condition, still worrying about her future. Tears finally spilled from her eyes. Ethan, do you have any idea how cruel it is for you to say that? To watch you die and then go marry someone else, start a family, as if none of this ever happened? I tightened my grip on her hand. Vivian, this is my last request of you before I'm gone. Please, promise me this. Ethan, I'll agree to anything else you ask, but not that. From the moment she'd learned the truth, she had already made up her mind. From now on, she would share my fate, in life and in death. We had promised each other once that she would be responsible for protecting me for the rest of my life. Not only did I fail to protect you, I let you suffer so much because of me. How could I possibly let you leave alone now? Ethan, whether it's hell or heaven waiting, I'm coming with you. Tears slid, one after another, from my unseeing eyes. How could you be so foolish? Why would you do something so foolish? Anyone else can call me foolish, but not you, because you're 1,000, 10,000 times more foolish than me. A sweetness rose in my chest, tangled hopelessly with despair. Because I knew, no matter what I said, I could never change her mind. She truly meant to die alongside me. But I didn't want that for her. Vivian, if you understand that everything I did was for you, then you shouldn't let it all be for nothing. You should carry that hope forward and live well. Carry my eyes with you, and see the world for both of us. But no matter what I said, she wouldn't relent, wouldn't agree. By the time we made it back to the cabin, she reached for my hand to help me out of the car, and I, in frustration, refused to take it. She wasn't upset. If anything, my flash of temper made me look, to her, more like the lively person I used to be. She simply helped me inside the cabin, and set me down on the bed. I curled into myself at once, arms wrapped around my knees. I called out for Leo. Vivian said, "There's only one room here. I arranged for him to stay at a hotel. It's just the two of us here now." She fetched water to wash me up. I refused to cooperate at all, even kicking the basin over. But she cleaned it up patiently, without complaint, and fetched fresh water to try again. When her fingers brushed the small scars scattered across my palms, every cruelty she had once inflicted on me rose again before her eyes. She knelt on one knee in front of me, bowed her head, and pressed a gentle kiss to my palm, an act both of surrender and of penance. "Ethan, I'm sorry. I let stupidity and jealousy cloud my judgment before. Every single day of those 3 years you were gone, I never once forgot you. I wanted to come find you, but I was too afraid of seeing you and Chloe together as a couple. That performance you two put on became a nightmare that haunted me for years. And then, when you appeared again, offering that shell necklace in exchange for money, I felt both joy and fury all at once. Joy, because you'd kept the necklace I made you. Fury, because you'd traded away for just $30,000. Everything I did to you after that was cruel, and none of it made sense. Ethan, we barely have any time left. Are you sure you want to spend it staying angry at me? Vivian, you know as well as I do that I'm running out of time. All I'm asking is that you honor my final request, live well. But I don't want to, Ethan. You have no idea how much I suffered through those 3 years without you. Listening to her voice, I couldn't hold back any longer. I reached out to pull her up, and my fingers found her cheek, wet with tears. She was crying again. My resolve softened. I felt for her hand and pulled her close. Vivian, fate has already been unfair enough to us. I finally won a single victory against it, saving your life. Please don't let me lose now. It was the first time I had ever resented the unfairness of fate, that it had put our whole lives through so much hardship and heartbreak. Vivian finally relented. Because she wanted me to win. She wanted me to triumph over this unfair fate. She promised she would keep living, even if living meant only pain. That night, for the first time in 3 years, we fell asleep in each other's arms. I slept deeply. Vivian barely allowed herself to rest, checking on me again and again through the night, making sure I hadn't slipped away. The next morning I woke to the soft press of a kiss on my forehead. A smile rose to my lips without my meaning it to. This was the scene I had always dreamed of. Waking every morning in the arms of the one I loved. Even if the world ended tomorrow, I would have the courage to face it. Then I heard Vivian whisper close to my ear. Ethan, let's get married. You still owe me a wedding. But she cut me off. No buts. All you have to say is, I do. I'll handle everything else. I do, I said. There was truly so little of my life left, and from that moment on, I didn't want to waste a single second more. After we got up, Vivian made breakfast with her own hands. Once we finished eating, we went to register our marriage locally. That afternoon, a suit Vivian had designed herself arrived by air freight. I ran my fingers over the intricate embroidery on the fabric, and asked, unable to help myself, is this the same one Nathan had? Yes and no. The design is similar to the one Nathan tried on before, but this one I made with my own hands. When I first designed it, the whole time all I could picture was you wearing it, so I had two made. One I designed and had a tailor construct. This one, I sewed myself. Ethan, let me help you into it. Our wedding was simple, held in the endless stretch of purple lavender fields, with Vivian's assistant and Leo standing in as officiant and witness. Do you, Vivian Bai, take Ethan Gu to be your husband, in sickness and in health, in poverty and in wealth, for any reason at all, to love him, care for him, respect him, and accept him fully, forever faithful to him, until the end of your life? Vivian, looking at me standing there in the suit, called out clearly. I do. And do you, Ethan Gu, take Vivian Bai to be your wife, to enter into marriage with her, in sickness and in health, in poverty and in wealth, for any reason at all, to love her, care for her, respect her, and accept her fully, forever faithful to her, until the end of your life? A smile touched my lips, though tears welled in my eyes. I do. You may now kiss the bride. After the wedding, my body grew weaker by the day. I would often sleep for an entire day at a time, and each time, Vivian stayed perfectly still beside me, keeping watch, as motionless as a statue, until the moment my eyes opened again. Only then did she seem to come back to life herself. On the days I was lucid, my favorite thing was having her lead me out into the lavender fields, breathing in the fragrance, feeling the world around us. Vivian, I'm so sleepy. She gripped my hand tightly, a faint tremor threading through her voice. Then sleep, I'll be right here with you. But something stubborn in me refused to close my eyes just then. It turns out people really do sense it coming, at the end. I knew somehow that if I closed my eyes this time, I would never open them again. I lifted my hand and gently traced the shape of her face, wanting to carve every detail of her into memory. Vivian, I've heard good people go to heaven when they die. A place without sorrow, without pain, only eternal happiness. Do you think I'll get to go? Her eyes reddened. You will. Ethan, you'll live happily in heaven. Vivian, this time I'll go on ahead and wait for you in heaven. Come find me when your own time finally comes, will you? Yes, Ethan, I promise I'll come find you. A contented smile spread across my lips. My love and I had made our own promise for heaven, at last. I would love her there forever, wait for her, always. My fingers slipped slowly from her cheek. This time, I never woke again. In her arms, my body grew cold, little by little. Vivian held me close. Ethan, I'm sorry. I can't keep the promise I made you. She took out the medicine she had prepared long before and swallowed it. Ethan, I'm coming to find you in heaven right now. You lied to me once, a long time ago. Now it's my turn to lie to you, just once. We're even now. And when we get there, you can't be mad at me for it. Or go ahead, be mad, as long as you let me stay by your side. A gust of wind swept through, and Vivian's body fell alongside mine, together in the lavender field. Both our faces carried peaceful, contented smiles. From that moment on, we would finally truly be together forever. By the time Vivian's assistant and Leo arrived, our bodies had already gone cold. They gathered our remains together, and after the cremation, just as we had wished, scattered our ashes across the lavender fields. Leo, eyes brimming with tears, asked, "Do you think Ethan and Vivian will find each other again in their next life?" The assistant answered, "They definitely will."